My name is Jason Nash and I'm a technical consultant with Vero. And in this demonstration we're going to cover the conversion process of moving a physical Windows server into a virtual machine using the VMware Converter tool. This tool is great for allowing you to take an existing live system, pull all the data, all the files of the OS into a virtual environment without having to worry about rebuilding the server and migrating that data. Couple things to remember are when you do this, you need to make sure any applications on the server are shut down. You don't want applications making changes, anything getting written to disk while you're doing this conversion process. If that happens, you may not capture those changes and you can end up with incomplete data, inconsistent applications, etc. So to get started, first this is a plugin tool. So you need to make sure the plugin is installed. Go to Plugin and then Manage Plugins. Converter Enterprise is already installed. If yours is not, just click the installation button and it'll complete. It'll walk you through a wizard. And when that's finished, come back in and make sure that it is enabled. If it's enabled, you should be able to right click on a cluster or an individual ESX server and see an import machine option. If that option isn't there, the plugin's not installed or not enabled. So we'll start by selecting a source. The default is physical computer, which is what we'll do here. You can also do another type of infrastructure virtual machine. You can choose other and do like Fusion virtual machines, third parties, VCB images. A lot of different options there, but for this we'll use physical computer. Enter the IP address of the source machine that you want to import. That's the correct one there from the last time we ran. And then enter the authentication data. You'll need to do an administrator level login, and it'll connect to the system. It's going to pop up and say that the agent needs to be temporarily installed on your system. Do you want to manually uninstall it later, or do you want this tool to automatically uninstall it when the import succeeds? We'll have it do the automatic. So now that the agent's installed, you'll see the next display where it shows you your list of available drives. Two options here. One is to ignore the page file and hibernation file. It's enabled by default, and this is a good idea because the machine's going to have to reboot to come up in a VM anyway. It's going to rewrite the page file when it does that, so there's no reason to copy that 4 gig or whatever file over. The second option is to create separate disks for each volume. This is not enabled by default, but normally I enable this and check this so that it creates a VMDK file for each separate drive. So C has its own, D has its own, etc. I'm only going to move one drive over, so it's going to gray that out. You'll see a list of drives enumerated by the agent. When the agent does this, Windows will come back with some virtual drives that aren't really there. So look through your list, uncheck the ones that aren't physically there. The only drive in that server is C. And then you have the option here of changing the disk size. So right now it's a 12 gig drive, 11.4 free. So let's say I want to give it a little bit more free space. So type it in gig and we'll do 14. Click next. Then you're going to choose your destination machine. It's the lab cluster. And give it the machine name. P2V demo. Click next. Where do you want it to physically land? We'll put on ESX01. Which data store? Again, we'll do the O1 data store on our Solera NS20. You can click Advanced here and actually put the VMX config file in one place and the disks in another place. Normally I just leave them together. Click Next. Verify some items, make sure everything's good. How many NICs do you want to have in the virtual machine? One is good. I'm going to tell it to not connected at power up. That way I can go ahead and bring this machine up and then make any IP changes that I need to make. Then you have the option to do some customization. Go ahead and have it install the VMware tools on the conversion. Remove all system restore checkpoints. That's a good idea since they're no longer going to be really useful in the new environment. It needs to start those over. You also have the option to customize the identity of the virtual machine. This will walk you through the standard customization spec, host names, a new SID. You'll need to know your product key, your license key, as well as your licensing information, and then you can change your IPs and your DNS and all that. I'm not going to do that since we would be simulating here moving an actual live server into the environment, and the idea is to down the old server and just retire that. Next, you can schedule the task or run it now. We'll go ahead and run it now. Gives you your options again. Make sure everything looks good. You have the option here to power on the VM after creation. I'll leave this off. Reason for that is if you don't do the customization spec, this is going to come up with the exact same host IP and name information as the system that's still going to be running. So don't power it on until you take the old system down. And click Finish. It'll start a task of importing a virtual machine here at the bottom. And this task will take some time. Depends on the size of the machine. Go ahead and let it run. And don't be surprised if yours isn't as fast as this, because I'm going to speed up the video so you don't have to sit here for 20 minutes and watch it copy.